Welcome to the Lindsay Hadley Podcast Show, where weekly I interview some of the world's most inspiring people from business, philanthropy, and entertainment. I love collecting humans, and these are some of my favorites I found along the way. This podcast has been brought to us by Capita Financial Network.
Do you need help with the next steps of your financial plan? Think Capita. Capita is a financial network built around you. They have a team of financial advisors, CPAs, estate attorneys, Medicare providers, and Social Security experts to help you accomplish your financial goals. Call or schedule a complimentary consultation at 801-566-5058 or visit their website at capitafinancialnetwork.com. You can also check out their financial education podcast, The Financial Call, available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and YouTube.
Hi, welcome to the Lindsay Hadley Podcast Show. Today we have Robert Ellin on, and we're going to be speaking a little bit about podcasting, entertainment, radio, the media world. And this is going to be really fun for us to hear a little bit about Rob's journey as an entrepreneur. Rob is the chairman and CEO of LiveOne, Inc., and they've had some very successful acquisitions recently, putting them kind of on the map in a major way. We're excited to share a little bit about these acquisitions, including Slacker Radio and Podcast One. And Rob, why don't we start off by just having you share a little bit of your story, like what got you into this world and what was your kind of journey as an entrepreneur to get here?
Sure. So this is, I've spent 40 years of my career in media and entertainment. My last two companies, I started iOne.com, which we were fortunate enough to sell to Barry Diller. And then I started Digital Turbine, right? And after the massive success of Digital Turbine, which ran to as high as a $12 billion valuation and $100 stock from startup, right? You get that fortune. I was trying to find something that was a big social message as well as a big opportunity in business, right? Because it's hard to find those. And what I try to focus my career on is jumping on a wave that already exists. So if you listen to Spotify's last earnings call, they said they're going to be 1 billion subscribers at Spotify alone to music. And Goldman Sachs said there's going to be 1.7 billion paying subscribers to music by 2030. So I found this giant wave. And what I wanted to do was I have 4 children. So I wanted to deliver this big social message, which was unify the world around live music. And if you had the opportunity to unify the world around live music, meant you had these big social media stars, artists, telling their fans, right, to unify the world, we'd have a lot better hope and it would cover a lot of problems. And when I started, I couldn't believe that we'd have the kind of problems we had today. It was a massive social message now it's way bigger. So this opportunity right now is just hit the forefront of it. All right. So the first acquisition we did is we bought Slacker Radio, a $20 million radio company, DSP, very much like Spotify and Sirius, had that lean back experience and had some great success, but had hit, some troublesome time, and over $200 million was invested into it. We bought it for 1 times revenues, and we took that $20 million in revenues and $10 million of losses, and we've now turned that into a $150 million business. Right? And the way that we did that is by focusing our energy on where the sweet spot of the market was. Pricing, we're the lowest in the market. We're 1/3 the price of Spotify. Number 2, service, giving that unique service to our partners. And number 3, by being able to white label our service. And we've been able to white label that service to the tune of, with Elon Musk is the exclusive provider for all Tesla cars, and every Tesla car in North America with the music inside of it. And we've And we've done the same with Verizon and T-Mobile and multiple others, and we continue to do that. And so that was the forefront, and we've continued to focus that energy around that big social message, right? And if you could deliver that big social message, you're going to drive a lot of subscribers.
That's incredible. So when you say galvanize people around live music, can you speak a little bit to that? Because what I'm hearing you say is, you're providing all this radio and airwave and digital access to incredible music and catalogs. It's so cool about your deal with Tesla. Congratulations. What a killer partnership. But what do you mean about galvanizing people around live music?
And what I found when I started this, I bought a little club in London called Coco's. And out of that club, I launched a TV show called London Live, and it reached 70 countries and 300 million people. And what you'll find when you go to clubs, you go to music festivals, during a music event, it's just pure love, right? There is no race, there is no religion, right? There's none of the issue we have. But as soon as that gate opens and they go outside, that same hatred comes back, right? So if you could get these massive social media stars, right? No one's watched anything like what Taylor Swift has done, right? It's just a phenomenon, right? How big it is. If you could get these social media stars, these artists, to unify people while they're in that audience and tell them how good it is, how well people get along, and how well they behave. It's like you never see a fight, you never see an argument in music, man. People are focused on the music and focused around the passion of it. We can help to drive that. And if we can get artists of all genre to do that, right? I'm right out in the Hamptons, and on Tuesday night we're going to do I think it's our 360th event, live event. There's going to be artists from classical musical artists all the way to rock and roll stars in every genre in between. And everybody there is there delivering the same message, which is everybody here, right, is here to have fun and enjoy each other and realize how close people can be around music. Why can't that virus spread once you leave?
That's so great. So I don't know if you knew this, Rob, but I was the executive producer and the chief development officer and a founding member of a thing called the Global Citizen Festival. So I produced a big music festival in Central Park for years, and doing exactly that, galvanizing like top-down commitments from governments and corporations, but then like bringing all the biggest artists in the world on our stage. We had like all 60,000 people on the Grey Lawn taking actions on behalf of a cause, and then we live broadcast it to like 30 plus million people. But
including on LiveOne.
Yes,
So
you're right.
We streamed it almost every year, and I don't think you're doing it anymore, right? They're not doing it this year.
No, we are. We are doing it this year. Yeah,
Where
it
is
is.
it?
Yeah, in Central Park still. Yeah, got a bunch of great big acts, and every year it's in its 12th year. So that's kind of crazy.
What's the date this year?
It's September 27th, I believe. So it's the last weekend of the United Nations General Assembly meeting.
Okay, I gotta check with my team. I'd be surprised if we're not streaming it, but we're a proud sponsor and proud streamer of it, and we've streamed to a lot of people. We streamed to 220
Thank
countries.
you.
And we've streamed right before COVID. We signed 2,200 of the biggest live music events in the world, including partnerships with iHeart in every event, and Rock in Rio in Brazil, and Seagate in Budapest, and Jazz Montreux in Switzerland. We've streamed just about everything. We've had 3,000 artists stream on our platform. And we've had 5 billion engagements. Not only did fans watch, but they repurposed it and shared it with their friends across social media.
That's incredible, Rob. So when you guys do this, it's the live performance, right? So it's a live stream through the radio.
Correct.
At the same time.
Not just radio, video. So
cool.
we built off the backs of Slacker Radio. That tech team came out of San Diego, out of Qualcomm San Diego. That tech team, we believed if you could build for a moving car, they could build pay-per-view. So they built pay-per-view for me. They built live streaming for us. They built NFTs for us. They built merchandise, and they built a social experience across audio and video. So while you're watching and listening, you can message, chat, buy a hat, buy a T-shirt, buy an NFT.
Neat. That's so cool. Have you ever done anything with the Exit Festival in Europe, in Serbia?
I have not done that one.
That's the largest music festival in Europe. We should connect you to the founder.
Absolutely.
That'd be great.
Absolutely.
I love it. So tell me a little bit about when, as an entrepreneur, the journey of these acquisitions. Did you find it to be a little cutthroat? Was it like romancing and a beautiful courtship? Like, how did it feel going through that process? Because I think a lot of listeners from our Capita audience are entrepreneurs themselves. They've been through the acquisition process, and I'm just curious if it's like different in the world of media.
Well, all I could do is be candid, right? Which is, it's all hard, right? So, but it's easier than startups, right? So what I try to do is I try to start with a concept, right, that is on this massive wave. As I said, 1.7 billion paying subscribers in music by 2030. That means probably between paid and free, they're going to be at least half the world have a subscription, right? So it's hard.
Present.
So by doing an acquisition that someone else had already put a lot of hard work into, a lot of money into it, makes it easier if you can transform that company. And so we bought Slacker Radio, went through almost 6 months of negotiations of ups and downs and so on before we got it done. But there were great partners involved, brilliant investors that were involved, and it was the right time. It was the right time in the right place, and they were willing to. And I say this very humbly: they were willing to. They knew I was going to outwork them. They knew that, if you listen to any interview I ever do, I outwork everyone. Like literally, I just put more hours in a day, right? I don't play golf. I don't play golf. The only thing that distracts me is my wife and my kids, right?
Which
So,
is so worthy of your distraction.
yeah, of course. But I genuinely love working. So they knew I was going to outwork, but they also knew that I have a habit of taking these companies and over a 10-year period of turning them into moonshots, right? And sometimes it happens way earlier, but usually it takes somewhere between 7 and 10 years, right? And so, a lot of them got fortunate when I bought it. My stock ran. I took it public and, went from, a $20 million acquisition. The company was trading at a $700 million market cap and everyone got liquidity. So it worked out well for them,
Amazing.
right? And
So
for us,
they're happy.
yeah, and for us, it worked out well because it gave us an opportunity to bring in some capital, but it gave us the opportunity to continue those acquisitions. So we've now acquired 8 companies. And the second one that I acquired was Podcast One. And one of my favorite people, literally I've ever met in my life, was a gentleman named Norm Patitz. And, COVID hit, and the very beginning of COVID, podcasting, this was a tiny little $600 million industry, right? I'm a avid podcast listener, right? You and I could spend hours talking about all the podcasts. And I know from the hedge fund community and the money managers, like the standing joke is there's not enough hours in the day for all the great content across podcasts, right? So it's like to catch up on everything. So I got enamored with the space and I got enamored with partnering with Norm. And so we put these pieces together and we rolled Slacker and Podcast One together. Now, all of a sudden, now I've got these amazing hosts. Today, proudly, we have 200 hosts on our platform. We really have 1,000, but 200 that are really relevant, driving traffic. And we just became the number 11th largest podcast network in the world.
Wow, it's unbelievable. Tell me about the network. Like, who are some of the big names that people might recognize on the platform?
Yeah, so we become synonymous with, to start with, Norm had Adam Carolla, Loveline, and Dr. Drew and all those, had him on Westwood One when he built Westwood One to a $5 billion public company. So Adam Carolla, who's the Guinness Book of Record for most downloads in podcasting, Adam was our first host and is still one of our most important hosts. But you got the likes of Jordan Harbinger and Lady Gang and Baby Mama and just about every housewife across the board, from Utah to Beverly Hills to New York are on our platform. And we probably are more synonymous with a women's network, right? Sue McNamara runs our sales, came out of Howard Stern's network and ran Sirius Radio sales, right? And sort of a massive lineup of female stars, very passionate podcast, stars that have been great. But we're pretty widespread. We cross over everything, just about every genre, from sports to music to film, television, TV shows, and then really fun and really exciting. What we've done is since I took it over, if you know my background, previously I owned Atmosphere Films, and we produced a movie called 300 and Spiderwick Chronicles, and we did over $1 billion in revenues in it. So I wanted to prove that we could take a podcast and turn it into a TV show. In fact, we have great partners in Utah that I'll tell you about it, offline, and who recreated a show. We just launched a show called Ransom. So these are true crime shows, but we sold a show called Vigilante that we sold to Peacock Network, and we just sold a show. I can't tell you yet, but any minute you'll hear, because I told the street that a show called Varnum Town, which you must listen to. If you're a Fargo or True Detectives or Coen Brothers fan, that dark comedy, but this is a true story. Literally, I just sold that to one of the biggest streaming platforms and the biggest deal I've seen in television in the last 7 years, because we already own the IP and we had a proven audience already in there, right? It was a very different transaction than most of the transactions that you see out there. So we try to look at the space and find those areas where we can really have concentration, meaning that the network, the community can grow each other and build off each other. And then we cross over with our radio and try to do the same thing. Who of those hosts could be radio as well, and who could drive more audience to each of them? And we've now built up to where we have almost 4 million subscribers. When I bought Slacker Radio, we had 400,000. So we're just about to pass 10x in 6 years in terms of number of subscribers.
Rob, that's phenomenal. You're living like every entrepreneur's dream. Also, fun fact. So you produced 300. So Jared Butler is actually on my board of my nonprofit and is a dear friend. When that movie really changed the trajectory of his career, obviously, it's so fun to see what he's doing now.
Well, tell
me a little bit.
Tell him I say hello.
I
right?
will,
Because
Jerry.
that show changed his career, but it really changed everybody's. It's kind of an amazing story. All the Monte Carlos, right? Thomas Tull and Ryan Kavanaugh and all these guys had all these Monte Carlos and raised billions of dollars. We're all in deep trouble. That one movie changed the trajectory of all of it. And Thomas Tull sold for $3 billion, right? And everybody else was saved. And the amazing part of 300 was the whole movie was produced with everything, marketing everything, was $60 million, which was 20 million over budget,
No way.
and it did $1.1 billion of revenues.
That's incredible. 60, I would have thought it was a couple hundred with the CGI at the time because that was really your guys' aesthetic in that was pretty, it was a tastemaker, pretty what I would call innovative. And I think people just assumed it was like the craziest, but it was probably just more the
Yeah.
stylistic stuff, huh?
It was really the first in its kind. I was like, when I look at movies today, and this is totally humble because I didn't make the movie, right? I own the company that was in it, right? So I can't take credit for producing it in the operational side. Mark Canton and the guys did an amazing job. When you think about that movie, it was like The Matrix, and then it was 300, right? And that changed movie
Totally.
making forever. And if you saw that movie, before the animation and the was all put in there, right? It's kind of amazing how many people sold a piece of it, thinking it was absolute garbage. It was sold. Warner sold to everybody. Mark sold to me. Everybody was selling a piece of the movie, right, to keep alive. And then all of a sudden, you saw that last version with the CGI was put into it, and I walked out of it. I walked out of a meeting, and I turned to Mark and I said, "You got to change the name of the movie." And he says, "Why?" I said, "Because they shouldn't call it 300. He goes, "What should we call it?" I said, "You should call it 500. He goes, "Why?" "Because this movie's going to do $500 million." It turns out I was dead wrong.
That's amazing, Rob. What a fun story. So, interestingly enough, so I just founded the first ever 501c3 film fund that's a perpetual evergreen film fund for television and scripted film. So, basically, we're leveraging philanthropic dollars the way people have historically for documentaries, but for television and films that are, kind
Love
of the
it.
participant media-esque, the kind of the Blood Diamonds or the Schindler's List or the movie Takens or whatever it may be, right? That have like some social good, and we're matching philanthropists because I had a decade consulting the nonprofit sector where I've worked with high net worth families and major ultra high net worth philanthropists my whole career. So it just is one phone call. So somebody has a project. For example, Tony Hawk, we're putting together a TV series that's going to be on ESPN and Hulu, but it's called Boarding Pass. And it's like an Anthony Bourdain, but he travels the world showing skateboarding in different cultures. So you see these catch one women dropping it on a half pipe. And we find philanthropists that care about, like BIPOC community and interpersonal cultural exchange and using a sport as a way of like humanizing. And then we leveraged philanthropic dollars to actually make the sizzle and put the package together and all this to do all the development. And then, got it on to the network. So anyway, we're doing this not just in inception, we're doing P&A, we're doing any part of the production, we're taking parts of cap
Wow.
tables, we're taking the entire thing over. Like we're leveraging philanthropic dollars. And on our board,
How
we
much
have
did you raise for that?
so we've just started. It's 2 months old. We've raised $3 million, but we're going to raise $100 million the next 2 years. And we've partnered with some of the biggest names in the industry. On our board, we have Patty Jenkins, the director of Wonder Woman, Mark Burnett, of course, like the most powerful live unscripted producer, Jared Butler, Katie Kirk's come on as an advisor. We have the senior vice president of Paramount Pictures, and then we have the partnership with Richard Branson. He's letting us do like the first ever film festival at Necker Island, where we're going to feature the slate of our films. So we're just getting started. We're like 2 minutes old, but you would be someone so fun to pick your brain.
Have you been to
Because
Necker?
yeah, I've been. Yeah, it's so beautiful.
I
Have you
was,
been
I,
there?
I was fortunate enough to. Richard woke up early in the morning. We're both big tennis players, and invited me out on the boat with him and asked if I'd like to go sailing.
How fun! How
I said,
fun!
it's probably three of the top five offers I've ever got in my entire life. Go sailing for
You're
two
like,
hours with
let's
Richard
go.
Branson. I was like, let's go. So
That's so fun.
it's a magical place. And then we put him on to my brother's TV show. We put Richard on to
Oh,
Entourage when he did Entourage, and
oh
he's the
my
best.
gosh! Your brother? Who is your brother?
Doug's my brother.
Doug. I met Doug when I was at Necker Island. Rob. I was on the
Right, you
island
went
with
to.
him.
Oh, you playing
Just
pickleball?
yes, I met Doug in Necker Island. We both met Richard at the same time. What a small world!
That's so
I'm
funny.
gonna send him this. This is hilarious.
That's
He's
hysterical.
darling. He's so funny and real, and he cracked me up. We were just talking about there was a one person on the island that was annoying some people and was a pretty, kind of overbearing personality. And your brother doesn't tolerate a-holes very well, as you
No,
know.
no.
And he was like, and I was all being like the classic, like, I was like, well, I don't know, maybe there's a lot of trauma. Like maybe this person, and he's like, don't give me that crap. This person sucks. It was so funny. It made me love your brother. He's so real.
Welcome to the world. Welcome to the world of the Ellins.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, what a small world, Rob.
We're not perfect, but the one thing we can't take is obnoxious behavior. So
yeah, I mean, it was obnoxious. So in your brother's defense, he was calling black, and white. He was being straight up about what we were looking at. But anyway,
what a small world. That was only a few weeks ago,
right? Yeah, truly.
Crazy.
Like I think we were there in February, so a couple months.
Did you get to see him play pickleball?
Yes, your brother's actually really good, and Richard was actually pretty good. So my husband,
I refused to play with him because I always kicked his ass, and now he's so good. Right?
You got no chance. So you got no chance.
No, like, listen, it would take me. I'm like, nah, I'm not gonna do this. He's like, invites me every day. I'm like, I'm not doing it.
Doug was playing with the pros legitimately, and Drew Brees, and I'm not, not to name drop, but it was like a fun crew. But it was funny because Drew Brees and Richard and my husband all went kite surfing. And afterwards, similar to you, my husband thought that was the funnest thing in the world. Like I got to kite surf with Richard Branson. They came back and Drew Brees said, hey, that was a bucket list for me, Sir Richard Branson, to be able to kite surf. I've always wanted to do that. And Richard said, that's so nice. And my husband said, Richard, what is, he actually asked him, he goes, Richard, what's your bucket list? You're a billionaire. You've flown to space. Like what's left for you? And he said the most thoughtful thing. He said, I want people that are really worthy to leverage my platform and my name and watch them make the greatest societal change for good possible. So earnest.
By the way, he genuinely means it.
He means it, and he does it, right? And so then Richard, trying to be kind to me, says, Lindsay, and what's on your bucket list? Just trying to include me in the conversation. And I was so audacious, Rob. I go, well, my bucket list is to have Sir Richard Branson to partner my new film fund. And so then I was able to pitch him, and he ended up saying, listen, I'd love to help. Let's do an event here at the island. So anyway, he shook my hand across the table.
Do you know Ron Perlman at all?
I don't know Ron, but it sounds like you know all these guys.
I just put Doug and Ron in the room together, and Doug's obviously a huge fan of his work, and he's obviously one of the greatest actors we've seen in our lifetime. But he's working on a super interesting film project that I'm very passionate about, which is really, it's critical to the film industry right now. It is absolutely. It's kind of life and death in my mind to the film industry, and how many more Spider-Mans are we possibly going to make?
Oh my gosh, please!
Without making real content, and it's like real producers and so on that just want to make their passion project can't get them done anymore, right? And forget that there's no back end. It's like, how do you create a model where everyone's a participant, where the producers, the writers, the actors, the people working are all participating? And obviously the strike was brutal, and Ron was a huge spokesperson for the strike, and the strike ended, and everyone got a few more dollars, and the reality is they got a few more dollars, and now the streaming networks just cut everyone off, right?
It's terrible.
They're doing way less stuff, so there's just going to be less people working, and it's kind of sad what's happened, but I think it's right in line with what you're doing. Right,
oh, I'd love to hear about it.
Side of this, it could be an ideal fit. So,
oh my gosh, we'd love to. I mean, we know a lot of really great, big-hearted philanthropists who have latent cash sitting in donor-advised funds and in their private foundations. Who, it's kind of an idea's time has come, is to take these philanthropic dollars and leverage them for feature and television, not just docs. They've been doing it on docs since before both of you and I were born, but docs don't really cut through the culture the way a 300 did, right? Like, what if you think about these major films, like if you have a hero's journey and it's really entertaining and it's with the kings and queens of culture and the greatest storytellers, that's going to have more cultural awareness, more impact than any doc ever made. So the fun part is, people agree with this idea, and we're flying. It has more tailwind than anything I've ever been a part of. I'd love to talk to you more about it.
Yeah. Send me some information on it, and
please,
let's get on the phone with Ron. You're gonna love what he's doing. And He's really Pat.
Thank you.
He's
He's a
really
legend.
he stuck his neck out more than anybody in the industry and put himself at real risk, sticking himself out, fighting for the union and fighting for the people. But what he was really fighting for, on top of just the people, was what he was fighting for is a rev share for everyone, right? It's like, and it's happening in sports.
Yes.
You see in
Trying to
basketball
make it equitable.
that
Yeah.
$78 million is going to get spread out, right? Everyone's complaining how big it is, but the reality is 52% of that's going to the players, right? And the team's got to survive and make sure they make money too out of it. So it's a win-win for everyone. I think the same thing's got to happen in film, and that's right down the center of the lane of what you're talking about. What's next?
Yeah, Rob, you're so cool. And speaking about what's next in your world, with your innovation in digital media, what is it you do to stay relevant and ahead of things? You have absolutely dominated with these acquisitions and being thoughtful about which placements. Like this Tesla partnership is just incredible. But what other things are you doing to like say, hey, we have to stay relevant, we have to be above the curve? There's so much you're competing with like AI and social media and like people just being distracted. How do you kind of keep ahead of the landscape?
I'm going to give you a little bit anecdotally, because it's been what I built my business on. When I started going back almost 40 years ago, right, I learned from a gentleman named Jack Friedman, and Jack built THQ and Jax and some of the biggest assets in it. One of the things I learned with him is you're going to go through your ups and downs, right? In media, you're going to get a multiple of earnings. In technology, you're going to get a multiple of revenues. If you combine the two of them, you're going to get either somewhere in between, or you're going to get even bigger, right? So what I try to do is every one of my companies has a media play and has a unique IP you can't get everywhere else, but it must have a technology advantage. And I think we proved that with Tesla and Elon Musk, and proving that for a little company, we were able to get the kind of contract. But we've also done is been at the forefront of VR. We shot the first ever music festivals in VR. We were fortunate enough that Facebook gave us $1 million to shoot back to the beach on the beach in Orange County. And then we shot outside lands in San Francisco with Samsung giving us $1 million. So, we didn't create the technology. We made sure we were in the forefront of it, right? And created the first VR experiences ever. Same thing in NFTs. I did this amazing event called Social Gloves. Right? There was a lot of noise around, but it was the beginning of the Jake Paul, Logan Paul boxing and wrestling. And I said, this is the coolest stuff I've ever seen. I've been around everything in it, right? Take a social media store, now add sports to it, right? And so we did Social Gloves in the middle of COVID, heart of COVID. We did over $27 million in a weekend, but we also sold the first NFTs ever to a live event. So we try to sit in that forefront. And where we're sitting in the forefront of those two areas now, you've probably seen 4 announcements so far in AI. AI is game changing. It's not a maybe. It's not a maybe.
Amazing.
And it's not here tomorrow. It's here today. It's going to get better and better. It's going to get more and more advanced. And everyone's worried about the negative uses to it. I'm worried about the positive uses to it.
Me too.
Right? And so we want to use it in a really positive way. And we want to use it both for our own sake, for our company, but also to make the quality of what we do better and better. And so you're going to see more and more of us in the forefront of AI.
Incredible, Rob. Have you heard of FYI? It's Will.i.am's AI company. What do you think? I just recently got introduced to them and all of it, and I've been candidly, I genuinely, I'm just canceled immediately my ChatGPT subscription because his stuff was so much more rich, and it had all of it was like Slack had a baby with Dropbox, had a baby with WhatsApp and Messenger and ChatGPT. I was like, this is the future, like where it's all in one place and I can communicate and do projects and work with my team. But I'm curious, like, what is it? Yeah. Tell us how you're innovating or love your thoughts on that. Yeah.
So to start with on the music side of it, right, is we built if you know what Splice is. So we started we started a music publishing business. Splice is beats and sounds, right?
Okay.
And those beats and sounds sell for $10 and $20, except for the producers, the guys that create those beats and sounds get their $10 and $20, but they don't participate in the back end. So we created a digital version where we're using AI to where, and I'm making this up, you want sounds that sound like the drummer of the Chili Peppers. It'll find me X amount of sounds, right? And then you'll take a human, right, to make the final decision which beats and sound go on our platform. So Splice is the Walmart, right? We're the Tiffany of it. So we created the best producers in the world to bring sound together, and then you use AI and those great producers to choose which ones. We now have over 4,000 songs that we own a piece of, And here's what you're gonna love, because
Whoa.
this is right up your alley with the the sharing and philanthropy of it is. Those producers now get a rev share on every piece of music they get.
Oh,
So
that
they
makes me
created
so
a little beat
happy.
and sound. So we got pieces of Post Malone songs and piece of Drake songs and so on. And those little pieces add
What?
up. And for a young kid, we won two Grammys this year. We were up to three. And those young kids that are producing those beats and sounds, right, are now in the forefront where they're realizing those producers are so critical to why a song is different. And I think the same thing is going to happen in film. So big initiative in AI on the area of beats and sounds. We're going to launch the first
Epic.
search engine ever with a company called Seeker in conjunction with Intel. Intel has to figure out, they have to get their feet on the ground, right? They've been the biggest chip
Yes.
manufacturer in the world, and the biggest valuation in the world, right? Now their valuation is 2.5 billion less than NVIDIA, right? No one in our lifetime could ever
Wow.
believe that was going to happen, but it's a huge change and it's quick. All right, so big opportunity there. We're going to spend a lot of time on that. Then the same thing we're doing on Slacker Radio. We're now creating way more channels. We have 500 music channels that created that AI is being used to pick that music that fits in. You want to do, July 4th music, right? There's got to be a human host that makes that final decision and a human voice, right? Because we're a lean back experience. But that AI has been magical for us. So we've doubled the number of channels.
Awesome. I love this idea of the artist equity, like you just described, that these producers can get a piece. That's mind blowing. And the fact that you have the software, the tech to track that, a platform, absolutely insane. Rob, tell me about, could you do the same thing in film? Like could a gaffer or a cinematographer or I don't know, somebody who's in some part of the sound or casting, like get a chance to own part of a film? Do you think that's possible? I
I
mean, what
do.
you're talking about is so epic.
I do, for sure. So one of the other things we're doing, and I'm not sure we're up to film or television, our company yet, although it's coming. What we have for podcasts is all right, and we're still in testing phases. We're testing multiple different companies right now to be able to take the voice of an Adam Carolla or take a voice of Baby Mama, right, or whoever it is, right, and be able to change that into multiple languages, right? And so as
Right.
you get into multiple languages, especially Spanish is a great starting point, right? It can't just be you change the language. You got to, because it's that the voice of that
It's
host.
their
It's
voice.
got
Yeah.
to make sure that their voice is also is relevant to the sounds that Spanish speaking is going to hear. Otherwise, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
So we're in the middle of
No.
that, and I've seen some amazing things in it. So I do think you can turn movies into different languages. I think that you can culturally, again, bring people together by doing that, where you're not stepping on their toes and trying to force them to listen to a voice in English versus listening to Spanish, or trying to change that English voice to Spanish would actually make it the proper sounding for those different languages.
That's so exciting. Yeah, I'm with you. So many people are nervous about AI, but the reality is it's here and there's so much good utility. It'd be like trying to fight the internet. It'd be like trying to fight the idea of currency in an economy. Like it's just
Let's
like it's a
figure.
construct that is showing up. It's the utilities infinite. So us taking leadership in it in any way we can as entrepreneurs to actually make it benevolent as possible is I think really incredible. So tell me about like as an entrepreneur spirit, like you just mentioned your work ethic. Clearly, now I'm like an Ellin brother. Okay, like this is a family that's like what it was in the water. You said your dad is 97. Like what did they feed you? What did
92.
like okay, 92, you
92.
got a
He just,
92
I don't know
is
if you
going
saw
on a
him just
date.
walk out. I don't know if you just saw him walk out. He's actually mad at the girl, right? She's like 39 years old or 40 years old. She changed the date from 7 o'clock to earlier to make it easy for him. But he thinks she's giving him a hard time by changing the time, right? But he just literally got showered. He's got his sweater on. It's freezing in the Hamptons, right? The storm is heading this way, so it's freezing
Plus,
out. And he's 92 years old, going to run out like. And he goes out. He's got a great head of hair. He literally, the woman that takes care of him's got to get him ready, right? And then once he's ready, he's like, I'm going to go walk with my cane. She goes, no, you're not, Mr. Ellin. He goes, yes, I am. And he's on his way. So it's
he
it's
sounds
it's
amazing.
he is.
What's your dad's name?
You got
What's
to
your
meet
dad's?
My dad's name is Marvin.
Well,
Marvin.
Marvin,
Yeah.
Ellin. I mean, he just sounds magic. So tell me
I'll
about
I'll send
what
you
is it?
I'll send you the
Yeah.
video of last night. Last night,
Please.
my wife has an identical twin sister, as I told you, who grew up in
Yeah.
Park City, right? And they're both
Yeah.
beautiful, right?
The
And
stomping
literally,
ground.
he's so happy. He's so happy that last night we all go to dinner, and he's like, "I'm really tired. Let's just go for a half hour." He's up dancing at 10:30 last night.
What a
Okay,
sweetheart.
so the two sisters are dancing with him, and then two other twins come over. So they go, "He's the cutest man I've ever seen." And they turn, and it turns out their dad, my father used to be their accountant and lawyer for their good friend's father. So then they call him and they go, "Oh, he's the greatest guy in the world." So the four of them, see, he's got pictures. The four of them dancing all night. You've never seen a bigger smile in your life. But what I would tell you is,
Marvin.
what I would tell you is, people complain about kids these days. My kids, I have four kids. You probably read about my son's company called Lalo. What we try to ingrace in them,
Yes.
which my dad did, is that we're not just going to win on smarts. We got to win by outworking. And I tell everybody, it's my speech in every interview I've ever done. It's my speech to my team on a weekly, monthly basis, right? And it's what I show them at 59 years old is I outwork everyone in my company, right? And they know I'm up to crack of dawn and I don't go to sleep until we get something done, right? And I'm dyslexic and ADD, so I grew up with a lot of school trauma, right? I have an older brother that
Yeah.
went to Harvard. Doug and I struggled a little differently, right? Yeah, we had a little different school career than my older brother, right? So we both knew that you're gonna have to work hard and you're gonna have to really put that extra effort in to get there. So, and I tell every entrepreneur the same thing. You think it's easy? You hear the one or two stories, the kid from Snapchat that turned down 20 billion. 99.9% venture capital deals go to zero. All right, we have to
Wow.
outwork. We have to outwork, and if you outwork,
Wow.
you're usually going to survive.
Wow. Incredible. So your dad, and you have, is it three brothers then in your home? Three
There's three of
boys?
us. There's three of us.
I have three boys. I need to get tips from Marvin. So in Marvin, what
Oh,
is it he did? He was
don't ask my father.
he
My mother had to do that. My mom, my
okay.
best friend used to describe. He went on vacation and he goes, and first when we got there, he goes, "Oh my God, this is so hard on your mom. You guys are like killing each other, right?" By the time it was done, my friend goes, "Jesus, your mom's a soldier. She's the
She's
commando.
the same.
She's running. She's the general. You guys are in trouble, right?" My mom,
Oh, that's awesome.
my mom was tough, and sadly we lost her 15 years ago. But she created
Oh, I'm
disciplines, and
sorry.
my dad showed us the hard work. My mom showed us they both went through very tough, times during their childhood. My dad lost his father at a young age. My mom had some issues with her brother and her family. The disciplines they put in place, were difficult for people like Doug and I who were creatives, but it also gave us those disciplines that we had to win. And if you have to win, the
Incredible.
only way you're going to win is to outwork, and that's what we do.
A- Amazing, Rob. Well, this has been the funnest like connection point to know you're Doug's brother, and I didn't even know that going into this. So this is so fun. But tell me, like, you've got these four kids. You've got a son who's an entrepreneur. Are your other children also? Do they also have that same chip? Is it like running
So
the family?
So it's kind of beautiful. My son and I have completely different personalities, right? My son is such a wonderful human being, but he literally, he started off, he was working with me out of college, and it was great and magical. He was literally one of the smarter kids in the company, and I made sure he was working with everybody else this time. But he was also entrepreneurial, and he was starting his own company, and he's now built this beautiful company called Lalo, and I'm sure you've read about it. It was the technology that was used right when the Drake song was launched for drops and
Yes.
messages, right? And
Yes, I
so he
heard
took
about
a
it.
so he took a lot of heat for it, even though it was just he just has a SaaS model that he built, and fortunately Sony just bought.
Right.
He was chosen for Y Combinator. Then Sony bought 10% of
Cool.
the company, and then Todd Bowley, who literally has become one of the smartest investors in this country right now. Instead of a young Warren Buffett, just bought a big piece of his company, a big valuation. He's building a moat right now. He's building a fast growing, really smart company. So he's done great. So that company's called Lalo.
Amazing.
My middle daughter, we just call her the boss, right? I always tell her every day, anytime you want to come run my company, I'll step down. Right? You run it. I guarantee you'll do a better job than me because she's got it all. She's on the pulse of all of it. So she's over at Columbia Records, and she's doing terrific. My
Wow.
youngest daughter, Tabby, is a professional singer, songwriter. So she just
Wow.
signed a publishing deal with Pulse. She just came out of
Nice.
NYU. She pulled her father's move and came out of college a year early because she signed a nice
Nice.
publishing deal. So she's very entrepreneurial, and she's doing fantastic. And really, really couldn't be proud of my kids. And then I have a 14-year-old son, 13 turning 14-year-old, who I just took him and three of his boys to the Hamptons, and they were just terrific. So, and
Amazing.
most important about my kids is all four of them, they just care about each other so much, and they just do so much for each other, and that's what
Beautiful.
you try to instill in kids, and that loyalty that is so important. And if you have that loyalty, you don't need that many more people in your life. You got your siblings and your parents and so on to fight for you. It's going to change a lot of things for you. It takes a lot of the stress out that these kids are going through.
What an absolute treasure. I love how you talked about your children. You just lit up. I mean, as much as you love business and what you're building, like you could just see your heart all over that conversation. And then, the idea that they're so loyal, and a lot of people have that. Like, I envy people that have just this deep, enriching relationship
Oh,
with their siblings.
oh,
I think it's such a
my
gift.
daughter was very, very unkind to me. When my son, who lived with me, lived in the guest house at our house, right? He lived there until 26. When he moved out, right, he sees me like, dad's crying his eyes out that he's leaving. And my daughter called me a couple of names in funny language. Said, effectively, you're such a baby. You are so lucky. How many fathers get their son to live in the 20 and you're going to sit and cry now? I said, yeah,
You're
I'm
so
going to cry.
cute.
I'm probably going to cry every day that he doesn't come back. So I've been lucky.
Oh,
I've been really lucky. And I just took, you'll love this. I just took my son who just turned 30. I took him and 15 of his closest friends to Moab, and we just did
oh yeah.
whitewater rafting
Beautiful.
and ATVing and hiking and biking. And at the end of it, I got this wonderful message from my son that it was the greatest trip of his life, and that's all you could ask for.
Wow.
That's
Well,
all you could ask for.
you're like everything. You're a unicorn. You're like hardworking, very approachable and real and unassuming. And then on top of it, you're this amazing family guy. What the heck? What can't you do,
I
Rob?
tried.
Can you also play music? Are you also a
No,
songbird like your daughter?
no, I don't.
Okay,
I
so
don't
you
have
suck
any.
you suck at pickleball, apparently.
No, no, I don't suck at pickleball. I was actually pretty good. I just can't beat my brother, which pisses me off.
No, fair enough.
So,
That's
but
hard. That's hard to
but
do.
I
He's
have
pretty damn good.
I actually have very little skills, right? I joke. My daughter has this unbelievable voice. You go listen to her. Her name is Tabby, Tabi. It's
Okay,
amazing,
I
amazing
will.
voice. I have zero voice. Doug skills. I have zero writing skills. I can barely write my name, let alone I'm dyslexic and ADD, right? So I joke
Oh
how
my gosh.
everyone jokes now how now that you have AI, my writing has become just absolutely fantastic, right?
Perfect. Yeah.
Right? It's
Rhyming
literally
poet.
great. So I don't have those creative skills. I would say that my strongest skills in this is I care. I love what I do. When I build these companies, and I mean this from the heart, it's like one of my children. I literally, when I built this company, we almost lost the company a couple of times, right? When I first started this, I was taking it public. I had $125 million in the bank, the symbol up on the New York Stock Exchange. I had Wiz Khalifa and Amon Day performing on the New York Stock Exchange. First time in the history of New York Stock Exchange, Amon Day was going to do the song Rising, which was to
Oh,
unify the world
cool.
around music. And literally,
Cool.
there were people on the New York Stock Exchange in tears when we were doing this and
I
talking to her.
bet.
And literally, the shooting happened in Las Vegas, and that was the end of it. We lost our IPO, so we had to take a deep step back.
Oh, painful.
Yeah. So we had to take a deep step back. And, it's like when you know all your friends' different reactions to things, one of my closest friends says, Rob, do you realize how lucky you are? You were raising money at $600 million. You had $20 million in revenues. Your stock would have gone from 12 to 4. Instead, your stock went from 4 to 10, right? So it took us 6 months longer to get it public. Very difficult IPO. And I was very fortunate. A gentleman named Ramin Irani, who I consider one of the greatest investors in media and so on, ran the Fidelity Puritan Fund, the $40 billion fund, said, I'll take the whole IPO. Rob, as long as
Wow.
you co-invest alongside of me. So, and he put the money in way cheaper. He put it in at $4 a share. He put in less money. But between us, he put in 20 million and I put in 3 million. And we closed the IPO and we got the company public. And so, you know,
Incredible.
when
What a
COVID hit,
story.
we were the largest streaming platform in the history of the world of streaming music. I was streaming all those music festivals we talked about before this, Rock in Rio, Seagate, and Budapest, and Jazz Montreux, and everything about that big social message was happening, and then everything was shut down, right? iHeart
Wow.
is an amazing partner. I was streaming on a weekly basis. I'd wake up in the morning, I was streaming Justin Bieber on a Wednesday and, Jennifer Lopez on a Tuesday and, Olivia Rodriguez on a Wednesday. It was like just magical. It was everything that was missing in music, right? Since MTV. There hasn't been a thought leader, right, in anything in music, audio and video, that is really that thought leader in music in close to 25 years now. So we had all of it. And then we
Wow.
almost lost everything. Our stock fell apart and lost everything. So we fought through and we battled through and we got a lot of scars, but we
You
also got
did
a
it.
lot of experiences. We got a lot of experiences.
Incredible.
So
Rob,
we now have a $150 million business and growing. And, I fully expect this, like my last company, Digital Turbine, over the next 5 years to take it to $1 billion plus.
incredible. So people can find your stock on online, or they can just the Dow.
So
What's the
yeah,
symbol?
we're NASDAQ, NASDAQ National. Symbol is Larry Victor Oscar, LVO. And we just got back onto the Russell 2000, all right, which is great. So our institutional holding is
Congrats.
now gone back up to like 35%. And then insiders
Amazing.
our insiders between myself and my management team own 35% of the company. And I've just started a massive buyback just to show the street how much we believe in the company. So we bought back $5 million of stock. And not only did we buy back,
Great.
but we extinguished all those shares. And I just announced the buyback. I expanded it from 5 million to 12 million. All right. And I just put out our guidance that this year, humbly, we will do from 20 million when we bought Slacker in 6 years. We'll do this year between 140 and 155 million in revenues, over
Incredible.
15 to $20 million of EBITDA. And our core business, our audio business, will do over $17 million of cash flow.
Unbelievable. Well, you are spectacular. I'm so glad to have had you on the show, Rob. Thank you so much for coming on. Is there any way is there somewhere where you'd like to tell people to connect or learn more if they want to, invest
Sure.
or be engaged or have a strategic partnership, or what's the best way for them to find you guys on a website? Help us know how to reach out.
You can come to our app, which is LiveOne.
Cool. Okay.
You can come to our website, right? You can see us on YouTube. You can see our channels across YouTube. All of our podcast content is on Spotify, Apple, Amazon. So even those guys compete with us. They're also amazing partners with us, and we keep expanding those partnerships. And then my email is rob@LiveOne. I'm one of the few CEOs that works in the public markets that spends, I know I have 2 jobs every day. Every day is days with investors, right, as well as days running the business. And few CEOs really understand that. I've been doing this now. I've been running public companies for 30 years. And so anytime you want to reach me, just hit me on my email, right? If you hit me on my email and you want my cell phone and want to talk, we're looking for small investors, medium investors, large investors. We look for people that are allies of the company and are passionate about the company. And we're one of 10 DSPs in the world, right? There's only 10 of us. The rest of them are 5 billion to trillions of dollars of value, right? So we're number 10. We're the 3rd fastest growing. On the podcast side, we're number 11 in the world, right? And we've only had that company for 3.5 years. We'll be top 7 in the next 12 months.
Unbelievable. Well, this is a rocket ship. You have a tiger by its tail, and I hope for you to have the most incredible success. Well, thank you, Rob. I'll be in touch with you about all this philanthropy film stuff. It'll be fun to see what we can do together. I love it. Thanks so much.
You have my cell phone?
I don't think so. I'd love to get it. We can exchange it on email and we'll connect. Thank you so much, Rob.
Great.
Thanks for coming on the show.
And then you better come visit LA, and Doug and I will take you to dinner.
For sure. That's a guarantee. So thanks for coming on, Rob.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Do you need help with the next steps for your financial plan? Think Capita. Capita is a financial network built around you. They have a team of financial advisors, CPAs, estate attorneys, Medicare providers, and Social Security experts to help you accomplish your financial goals. Call to schedule a complimentary consultation at 801-566-5058 or visit their website at www.capitafinancialnetwork.com. You can also check out their financial education podcast, The Financial Call, available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and YouTube.